Habayr Yud Alef Nissan. A very special day. The Rebbe actually always used to say how big a birthday is, but especially when it comes to the Rebbe. So the fact that the Rebbe said that everyone's birthday shows how much a person makes a change in the world and how critical he is for the tachlis of the world. So we see it especially by the Rebbe. And just the fact that we're here sitting now in Sydney and you have so many Chabad houses, shuls, schools, so much chesed happening, so we see how far the vision and how big the change of the Rebbe is, that the Rebbe made in this world. So we'll try to connect a little bit Iskashrus with a very deep Maamer that the Rebbe said, and Rebbe also gave it out in a kuntras. So we'll start the Maamer. We'll try to make it quick and simple for everyone to understand. And the Maamer is called Yeshaelch b'nch tshel. We have it in the Sefer Maamer Malukot. It's Muga from the Rebbe. So we'll start it together. The Rebbe says, Yeshaelch b'nch machar leimer ma eides v'achokim v'mishpatim asher tziva Hashem Elokeinu eschem. This is what the Baal HaAgada says. This is actually what says in the Torah, and the Baal HaAgada brings it down as one of the ways of explaining Yetzias Mitzrayim for one of the kids. And like it says in the Haggadah that it goes on the Ben HaChacham. And like the Rebbe says, Shaila zu yisha'elach ben HaChacham. Moishenema ba'Haggadah, Chacham ma'u oimer, mo eidus v'goimer. V'yadu adiyuk b'drushei Rabbi Seinu Nasienu, the me'acha shenikro b'shem Chacham, ari yu bevada yoideya es ha-mitzvos, u'mai she'ilosoi ma eidus v'achokim v'amishpatim. The Rebbe is asking a very simple question. If you call him the wise son, the one that knows everything, so how come that the question that he's asking is Ma eides v'achokim? What is the mitzvahs that we are learning? The chokim, the mishpatim, all different types of mitzvahs that we have. He's supposed to know it better than all of us. And the Rebbe goes on to another question. V'yesh lahoisif b'mhemshech hakosu v'omarto lebincha v'yetzavenu avay elasas kol hachokim ha'ele v'goyim l'toiv lanu, which is the answer that we're answering to the Ben HaChacham. And we are explaining over there shemevarim ha'mayla b'kiyum ha'mitzvahs l'toiv lanu. So we understand from that muvn shepirish ma'i edus humau inyan ha'mitzvahs ezay mayla yesh b'hem. We see from the answer that we're answering the Ben HaChacham is that we're answering him what is the mila, what is the benefit, what is the extra value in doing mitzvahs. Why would a Ben HaChacham ask such a question? He's looking for benefits, he's looking to gain anything. It's not what a Ben HaChacham looks for. So we're trying to understand. That means that the question is that what is the benefit that he's having from the mitzvah? Why should he ask such a question? And the Rebbe asks another question. ויצווינו וגויים ולעשות את כל החוקים נקים שהיציאנו במצרים אנו משבודים אלו לקיים מצווסו ועוד עניין בקיום המצוות שאין לטוב לנו כל היומים. So we see that in the answer there's two parts. There's that Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, and because of that we have to do the mitzvahs that He gave us. We have to listen to Him. And also there's another part of it that it's going to be l'toiv lanu, that it's going to be for our benefit, that it's going to be good for us. So we understand from that both of these parts, also the part that we have to listen to Hashem because He took us out of Mitzrayim, and also that we're benefiting something from that, the Ben HaChacham didn't know, ve'enoi muven. The Ma'achar she'eno yodea inyan ha-mitzvahs, lo רק she'eno yodea שהמיtzvahs seem l'toiv לנו, אלא she'eno meben אפילו החיוב דקיום ha-mitzvahs בדרך קבלה ישראל, איך קוראים מויסר בתור Ben Chacham. How can you call this son the wise son when he even doesn't know the basic part that the reason why we're Mekayim mitzvahs is not only because it's our benefit, just because Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim and we are His. And the Rebbe asks a fourth question. Gam tzorich lahaven. Masha oimar shetziva avaya lekeinu eschem. The Ben HaChacham says the lashon eschem v'lo yoisanu. Ve'agam da'alidei she'oimer havaya lekeinu. He's saying Elokeinu ein makam lipe shemoitzi chas v'sholem es atzon me'aklal. Mikol makam tzorich bir masha oimer eschem. Da'avle lemeimar shetziva avaya lekeinu yoisanu oy shetziva avaya lekeinu v'suloi. Why is the Ben HaChacham, the wise son, taking himself out of the question? And he's saying, what is the mitzvahs that you are doing? And he's not talking about himself. Why is he putting himself out of it, which is officially like the Ben Harasha, the wicked son? So another question, why are we calling him the Ben HaChacham? So the Rebbe starts explaining the whole structure of what is the Ben HaChacham, where is he coming from, what is he asking? The Nekudas Habir was a bad Roshim. Al Pi HaYadu. The Kiyum HaMitzvah Shel HaAvos Hoya Be'ikar Avoid HaRuchnis. והפעולה שעשו בגשמיס היו כאין כלי לעבוד הרוחניס, והמצווה שניתנו במתן תורה, עיקרם הוא העשייה בפועל. והעשייה המצווה היא לא יכונה וכלי לכוונוסו, אלא אדרבה העשייה היא העיקר. וכמו בנידן דידן מצווה אכילס מצה, כאשר אחד בסוד מצווה מצה, וחס ושלום יחסר הפועל ממש, לא ימשיך מאומו, ולאידך כשיקיים המצווה בפועל, גם בלי כוונה ימשיך הלאה. We're going back to understand what are mitzvahs from the first place. When the Avos were Mekayim mitzvahs before we got the Torah. So, it says in Chassidus that the main part of the mitzvah was the ruchnisdige part. The kavanas, the yichudim, the nefesh that was in the mitzvah. The ma'aseh b'fayal, the gashmisdige part, the gashmisdige outcome of the mitzvah was only a kli for it to hold in it this ruchnisdige darge that they were working on. But after Matan Torah, the whole mila of a mitzvah is the hamshacha into the gashmias, the bringing down the ruchnias into the kli gashmi that we're doing the mitzvah in. Like by Pesach, if someone is gonna be mechaven and be meyached all of the yichudim of mitzvah achilas matzah, and he's not gonna eat the matzah actually, he's not physically gonna eat it, then it's like he did nothing. So the whole concept of mitzvahs after Matan Torah is the ma'aseh b'fayil. And now we're coming back to the Yeshailach b'nech the Yeshailach b'nech Chacham ich mamshichim gilu yer en sof al yedei ma'aseh mitzvahs. V'zeu sho'omer ma eidos asher tziva avay lekeinu eschem davke kin sha'avodah shalchem la'achem Matan Torah yasiyah v'lo yavoid ruchnis ka'avodas ha'avos ich nimshach gilu yer en sof al yedei avodah zu. And now we're coming back to the question of the Yeshailach ben HaChacham. The wise one is asking, how are we mamshich gili elakus in a gashmiasdige thing? How did that happen? Before Matan Torah, there was no such a thing. What happened when we went out of Mitzrayim and got the Torah that made that change, that we should be able to be mamshich elakus into a gashmiasdige thing? And because of that, we understand also why he's saying the lashon eschem. He's saying eschem because he's trying to take not himself out of the question, just the avos and the concept of doing mitzvahs before Matan Torah, which didn't have the concept that we have after Matan Torah of the hamshacha into the gashmias. And we answer him, v'atshuva v'omart lebincha, avadim lapari b'mitzrayim, v'yitzeinu avayim b'mitzrayim, v'yitzeinu avayim lasas eskol achuk ma'ile b'goyim. He the golus mitzrayim v'yitzias mitzrayim, ho'yachana l'matan Torah, v'matan Torah nitan ha'koyach, shal yidei mitzvahs ma'asis, lasos eskol achukim, lasos daike, שימשיכו המשוחס למעלו, יוסם המשוחס שימשיכו אבס על ידי, אבל דרוך נשלם ועד להמשוחס העצמוס. So we are answering him, you want to know how we got this kayach to be mamshech alakus in the world? Avodim ayinu leparva Mitzrayim. V'yetzienu avaya. Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, and when Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim, He gave us the power to be able to be mamshech alakus into this world. Not only to be mamshech into Gashmias, just the hamshach is even much a bigger hamshach than what the others did without the hamshach into the Gashmias. Because we are dealing over here with hamshach, which is shaykh to atzmus. And also the hamshacha is higher, and also it goes lower into the Gashmias, the kli, into the physical world. But the Rebbe reopens the question. V'tzarich lahavin. This explanation is not enough. The l'chayre bir haniska le'el sheshelas habein hachacham yal hamitzvah shel ha'achim atmutei yedavke hu bir rak al zeh shel ha'achi she'omer asher tziva havai elikeinu hu moisif ascha בכדי להדגיש ששאלוס היא לא על המצווה דאב, הסכים על המצווה אשר ציווה הווי אלוקינו אסכם, לאחים מתנתרת. אבל זהו ימוב לכאורה גם כשהיומר בלושן כל יהודי יסר, אשר ציווה הווי אלוקינו אסכם. This answer that we answered explains mainly why he said אשר ציווה הווי אלוקינו אסכם and not oisanu. That we are referring here to the others that they weren't part of the concept that we have today after Matan Torah. But still we would be able to put that into less a controversial word. Not to say Eschem and not me, we would be able to understand that. He would be able to say Oisanu, we would still be able to understand the question and the answer even if he would say Oisanu. It wouldn't be missing anything. And the Rebbe adds another question, a fifth question to the questions that we had before. גם צריך להבין ארנוי, מה האידס והחוקים והמשפטים? דמאחר ששאלוסה היא על כלולוס המצווס, הווה ללמימר מה המצווס וכיוצא בזה, ולמה מפרט אידס חוקים ומשפטים. ובפרט שהחילוק לעסוק עם האידס חוקים ומשפטים הוא בכוונס המצווס. שהמצווס דחוקים צריך לקיים פני שם ציווי הקדוש ברוך הוא גזר גזרתי, והמצווס דאידס ומשפטים צריך לקיים גם מצדתם, והשאלה מה אידס היא על המשובש על ידי מעשה המצווס. So another question that the Rebbe is adding to the four questions that we had before is that if his question is on all mitzvahs, how are we mamshich elakus into Gashmias? So it has nothing to do with which type of mitzvah we're dealing with. If it's a eidos, chukim, mishpatim, all different types of mitzvahs that have a difference in the time of the mitzvah, it doesn't really make a difference because we are asking over here about the hamshacha that we are mamshach into the Gashmias, and that hamshacha is bekulam b'shava. It's always the same hamshacha. So why is he being mechalek and dividing it into chukim, edus, and mishpatim? It's not relevant to the question that he's asking. And the Rebbe asks another question, a sixth question. Gam tzarich lahavin sheshelas haben hi al kol gimel asogim b'mitzvos edus, chukim, and mishpatim. But b'atshuva v'yetzaveinu v'goyim v'lasis kol hachukim maskirat chukim. Why, when we answer him, so we talk only about chukim? He asks about eidos, chukim, and mishpatim, all types of mitzvahs that we have in the Torah. So why are we referring only to chukim? And now another question that the Rebbe is asking is about the seder that he asks his question. That he starts with eidos and then he goes to chukim and mishpatim. What's the question? גם צריך להבין דהחילוק בגין לעסוקים אידס חוקים ומשפטים הוא שמשפטים הם המצווה שמחויבים מצד השכל כמו גזל, גנבה, כיבוד אב ואם, ואידס הם המצווה שהם אויס וזיכרון כמו שבס, פסח, סוכה ותפילין. דמצווה אלו גם שהשכל מצד עצמו לולי ציווי התורה היו מחייבים מכל מקום לאחר שהתורה ציווה עליהם, השכל מסכים לזה, וחוקים הם המצווה שגם לאחר שהתורה ציווה עליהם אלו ימקום בשכל, ואם רק בדרך חוקה חוקקתי גזרתי, ועל פי זה, היו צריך להם על החיילים משפטים, אידס וחוקים, בסדר דמלמטה למעלה, או חוקים, אידס ומשפטים, בסדר דמלמעלה למטה. Another question the Rebbe is asking is, why is he asking Ma Eidos HaChokim VaMishpatim? L'chayra, Mishpatim is the most understood mitzvah. Eidos, we wouldn't understand it if it wouldn't say in the Torah, but after the Torah explains it, we understand it. It's like Pesach, Sukkos, mainly mitzvahs that have shaychus to zikaron. And then you have chokim that we don't understand at all. So or he would be able to say mishpatim, eidos, and chokim. Or he would be able to say chokim, eidos, and mishpatim. Why does he say eidos, chokim, mishpatim? It doesn't make sense with the seder of mitzvahs. So the Rebbe starts to explain this whole mess that we are in, and to try to understand a little bit what the question of the why son is. The Yuvan said the Hakdim Hashem Advair Kvoid Kedushas Merchami Admor b'Maamer Di b'Maskelze. Be'adiuk shebesheilas haben achacham ksiv eschem. The Friedrich Rebbe asks that the same question like we asked before, that if the Ben HaChacham is saying Eschem, so he's exactly like the Ben HaRasha, the wicked son. He also, the whole problem with the wicked son was that he's taking himself out of the cloud, and he's saying, I'm not part of it. Also the Ben HaChacham is doing the same thing. But he asks here even more. But the Miloshna Maamer mashma שהדיוק בזה שאומר אסכם הוא לא רק שצריך ביור לא אומר אסכם, אלא גם בזה שאומר אסכם ולא יסונו, שעל ידי זה יש מקום ליטוס, זה שאומר אלוהינו, הוא מכניס עצמו בכלל, הוא רק בנגיע לעיקר, כבוד שמח השמיים, אבל בנגיע לפרוטי העניונים בעדי זכוקים משפטים, הוא מוציא עצמו מן הכלל. So, the question of the Friedrich Rebbe is much more than the question that we asked before about why is he saying eschem. Of course, even if we'll say no, of course he continues that he is referring to us, and he's baklal, he's in it, but still we have here two parts. We have the basic part of the mitzvah, the ikr, the main part of the mitzvah, and then there is, which is shaykh mut kabbalah, so malchus shamayim. And then there's the different parts of mitzvahs, which is eidos, chokim, and mishpatim. So when he is referring to himself together with everyone, it's only benegea to eidos, chokim, and mishpatim. So it doesn't answer us how come, when it comes to the basic part of understanding why we're doing mitzvahs, he takes himself out of the klal and he's saying eschem. So even if we would say that no, it's fine, he's the wise son, and he's putting himself in the klal, with that he's saying, by the end of the day, that's only regarding to the protei ha-mitzvahs, but not to the klal of mitzvahs, which is Kabbalah Shul. So, the Friedrich Rebbe says that for to understand this, וישלמה רבי ובזה, ובמצווה שני עניין, זה שהמצווה הם ציווי השם. העניין זהו בכל המצוות בשבת, זה שהמצוות נחלוקת בגימל סוגים לעדי זכוקים במשפטים, ושני עניינים אלה, הם גם בקיום המצוות, ובכוונת המצוות שני עניינים, כוונה כלוליס לקיים ציווי השם. בכוונה זו היא בכל המצוות בשבת, וכוונה פרוטיס, קיום המצוות מפני שהיא עדוס, אויס וזיכרון, על איזה עניין מפני שהיא חוקת, זה מפני שהיא מחויבת גם מצד השכל. So the Friedrich Rebbe starts with that we have two parts in every mitzvah, also in the kavanah and also in the etzem kiyum mitzvah. There's the klolias dige tzivui, there's the klolias dige kavanah in all mitzvahs b'shava, that we understand that every mitzvah is from Hashem. And then we also understand that there's three types of mitzvahs, also in the kavanah of the mitzvah and also in the kiyum of the mitzvah, that there's a kiyum of a mitzvah that has a tam, there's a kiyum of a mitzvah that we understand only through the Torah, and there's a kiyum of a mitzvah that it's chokakti, gzera gazarti, that we don't understand. So we understand that there's two inyanim in every mitzvah. And now we're going back to the Yeshaelch b'nech Yeshaelch b'nech ma edus v'achokim v'mishpatim v'chiyid. Kivin shekol hamitzvos im tzivui Hashem. Ma nagei ha'inyan da'edus chokim v'mishpatim. Why do we refer to the mitzvahs that there is edus chokim v'mishpatim? L'chayra, everything is tzivui Hashem. All of the mitzvahs are mitzvahs Hashem, tzivui Hashem. So why do we approach the mitzvahs in these three types of mitzvahs? What are we missing after having the first understanding and the first tzivui? שבנגיע לפרוטי העניינים באידס חוקים ומשפטים הוא לא צריך חס ושלום לעצמו מהכלל ובכדי לשלול תוזו הבל ללבי מריסנו. So that's why we understand also the diuk that the Friedrich Rebbe makes in the question of the Bein HaChacham, the wise son, that we don't understand. Why is he taking himself min haklal? He's putting himself on the side and not together with everyone when it comes to the protei mitzvahs, eidos chokim u'mishpatim, that he doesn't understand why he has to do. And that's the question of the Friedrich Rebbe. And for to understand all of this, v'yuvan zeh al pi hamavur b'Maamer aniskalei. We're going back to what we were talking about before. Shegimel ha'inyanim the eidos chokim u'mishpatim in b'chol hamitzvos. שגם המצוות דחוקים ומשפטים נקראים בשם עדוס. כמו שנאמר, ויקם עדוס ביעקב. ועל דרך זה בנגיע לחוקים, שגם במצוות שעל פי טעם, עדוס ואפילו משפטים, הטעם הוא רק על כלולוס המצוות, ולא על הפרטים. והפרטים הם באופן חוק החקק, תגזר גזרתי, ועל דרך זה בנגיע למשפטים, שגם במצוות עדוס וחוקים יש העניין דמשפטים. So, the Rebbe puts down over here a yesod to understand the whole question and the answer of the Ben Chacham. That first of all we have to understand that every mitzvah has in it all three. Also mishpatim, also edus, and also chukim. Let's say regular mitzvah that we all understand that we have to do. So we understand the basic mitzvah. But the pratim of how it has to be done, and the shiur, and when we're yaitz and when we're not yaitz, if it was too light or too dark, too high, too low, all of those parts are ba'ofen shel chukah. We don't understand it. So even a mishpat has in it also a chayik. Even a chayik has in it also a mishpat, or a edus has in it. All mitzvahs have in them all types of mitzvahs in it, all types of eidos chokim u'mishpatim. V'inyan hu. Why is that like that? The begilui elokus shalidei hamitzvahs gimel madregas b'chlalos. The gilui elokus that we have from mitzvahs have three different dargas. Oram mislabish ba'olamas. The bichlolus oilam emala, v'ushal emala mislabish b'olamas, al shaykh lo'olamas, the bichlolus oilas oiva, v'atzmus oilan sov, shal emala mishaychas lo'olamas. In mitzvahs we have three levels. Now the Rebbe says also that in Gilui Elokus we also have three levels. Like we always know in Chassidus, we have oilam emala, oilas oiva, and atzmus oilan sov, which is above both of them. Now the Rebbe explains also what every one of them are. How are we mamshach gilui elokus from oilam emala? Through that we are mekayim mishpatim. Asagas haseichel. Through that we are masig a mitzvah, we are megala the oil hamemala, which is oil that's something that has haislapshus in this world, and b'meila our seichel could understand it, and it could fit into the physical world. V'or asayvav en shayich b'yasagas achiv rak yedias hashlila. V'zeh shu yodei ha'movin sheba'or zeh iyaf shal yasagas haseichel v'inyan en bitl ha'asaga. That a person understands that he can understand a certain mitzvah and he's mekayim that mitzvah, he's mamshich ha'or, that's called or asayvav. which over there you can't be masig the but you could be masig what the is not. You could be masig the shlila of the what would be if not? What isn't it? So how are you mamshech that when a person is mekayim a choik, which doesn't have a avana al pi seichel, he's mamshech or asayv. Ube'atzmus oil insof, to be mamshech atzmus. She'ena begeder shaychus l'ilmas. Ein shaych lo'im agam shu mushlo ma'asag as asaychel. You also can't say no to be mamshech atzmus oil insof is through that I don't understand what I'm doing. Atzmus oil insof is not mushlo from asagas asaychel. It's not the mila of atzmus is not that you can't understand it. That you can't understand it, that's for sure, but it goes a lot higher. And that is not something that's going to be mamshich through that a person is mekayim a chayk. So a chayk is only mamshich oir asayv. The Kamavur Betanya, the Rebbe brings a dugma to the inyan of atzmus. שאומר על הקדוש ברוך הוא שאי אפשר להשיג לו, הוא כאומר על איזה חוכמה, רומא ועמוקה, שאי אפשר למס שבידיים, שכל השמי, סך הכל, כי עניין השלילה שאומרים על איזה דובר שמושלם מדובר שני, שייך דווקא בדברים שיש יחס ביניהם. והשכל והמישוש, הם שני עניונים נבדלים לגמרי, שאין יחס ביניהם. It's like someone's going to say that I can't touch physically a deep theory. Of course you can't touch it. They have no relation. It's not shaykh one to each other in any way. This is a theory, and this is a physical touching. You can't touch a theory. So that's what the Tanya brings as a dogma, as an example to understand when someone says that he can't be masig what Hashem is. Of course, a person can't be masig what Hashem is, like he can't be masig a theory. And the Tanya is meisiv. Tanya adds, "V'ula yesh la'oiser sheba'amoshel l'seichel u'mishesh kim sheshneim em nivloim u'gbalim yesh yachas b'nei." By a theory, you could even say that there is some type of, they have some type of relation that both are a nivra, both are something that was created. So there's a certain yachas in between them. Mashenkim ba'animshel. Well, we're talking about being masig Hashem. There's no shaychus. How could you be mamshech? How could you try to be masig who Hashem is? B'seichel, it's two worlds. It's two different things. It's much more than saying that I can't touch with my hands a theory. Is much less than understanding the concept of that you can't touch or be masig what Hashem is, what Getlachkeit is. Velochein. Because of that, we're going back to the difference between atzmus and soivel. Velochein amshochas atzmus oyer insof einu gam al yidei inyan nachokin bittul ha-seichel. Kivin shalagabi atzmus oyer insof in shayif loima gam inyan de shlilas ha-seichel. You can't say that the mila of atzmus is that you don't understand it. V'zeh shal yidei ha-mitzvos hu amshochas atzmus oyer insof, that we are mamshech atzmus oyer insof through that we are makayim mitzvos u'mipnei shah-mitzvos im rotzen v'tzivoy atzmus. How are we mamshech that? Atzmus oyer insof. We said that mishpatim is something that tries to oyer memala, gilui elikus from oyer memala, just the lower level of gilui. And choke, we said is mamshech soivev. How are we mamshech atzmus? V'zeu inyan ha'edus sheba mitzvos. Zeh shekol ha-mitzvos, gam ha-mitzvos dechukim ha-mishpatim nikoim b'shem edus. ולפי שהם ממשיכים ומגלים הלם עצמית עצמוס oyer insof. שלומר גם יסויב, וכמו שעניין האידוס בפשטוס הוא על דובר הנעלם דווקא, ועל דובר הגלוי אין שייך אידוס, מכיוון שהוא גלוי, אפילו על מצד האבידה לגלוי אין צריך אידוס. Eidus, the part of Eidus in every mitzvah, like we said before, every mitzvah has chukim, every mitzvah has mishpatim. That's what's mamshich atzmus oyer insof. exactly like Eidus Bepashtas. Alpinigla. What does Eidus mean? When you don't know about something, how exactly it was, or what exactly happened, then you take Eidus, you take a witness that was there, that saw it, and he tells you what happened. Only when something is behelem, then you have the inyan of Eidus. So, for to be megala atzmus, which is something that's behelem, that's something that we don't see, that we don't know, then we could be megala atzmus. And like it says in the Gemara, that b'milsa David l'gluya, you don't have the din of Eidus. Why? Because everyone are going to know what happened. Then it's not shayach the din of a witness that's coming and saying what happened. We'll all know later on. So, soiviv is begather something that's milsa David l'gluya, but only atzmus is something that we could say that we don't know what it is. And the Rebbe continues, Al derech zeh beruchnis, the oira memalu dovo ha'kol yishu musek v'seichel, v'oira soiv shalom ma'alu me'islam shespoilemas, u'milsa David l'gluya. Like we just said, oira soiv is something that we don't see, but it's something that we could know through that we know that there's oira memalu, and oira that's begilu, we know that there's also oira that's be'hala. כעל-ידי העסוק באור ממלא שמסלבש באוילמס שהוא האור בלבד בוים לידי ידיע שישנו אור שהוא מופלא מאוילמס שהוא המקור ממנו נמשך האור שבאסלאפשוס ועניין האידוס הוא בעצמס אור אינסוף שלמעלה גם מסויבב שהוא נעלם לגמרי. You don't know at all that it exists. It's not something that you have any way of knowing or experiencing it in any way. So only something שהוא נעלם לגמרי, on that you could say that it's shayach a inyan of Eidus. V'zeu ma shekol ha-mitzvos nikoyim Eidus. L'fshem mamshichim u'megalim atzmos oyin social u'malagam ezoiv. All of our mitzvahs that we are doing are Eidus being megala level that wouldn't be able to be nizgala otherwise. And the Rebbe continues, Obiru ha-maila de Eidus al-chokim. B'protius yosu. To understand the mile of Eidus over Chokim in a deeper way. After gam b'Chokim nirgash b'gilu shem l'tzayne yisborach. Rotzen shalom ma'ala mitam. Yuvan al-pi ma shekasu ba'amayim shechokim u'miloshen chkika. Hu mehemshech ha'inyonim she'ba'amayim u'mashma d'shnei inyonim b'zeh. What is Chokim? What is the Loshen Chayk? The Loshen Chayk is a Loshen of chkika, engraving. And you engrave in a stone or in wood. And there's two ways of understanding the inyan of chayk, that it means engraving. It means chakika. First one is inyan chakika l'mayla. Moshe nema ba'amayim the mailas oisias achkika oisias aksiva shoisias achkika einam dovan noisaf alayitzem umevaya shezo b'chinas akasa. What does chakika mean different than oisias aksiva? What's the difference when you write a word with a pen or you write it with an engraving, when you engrave it? What's the difference? That when you engrave it, it's not an extra mahus on the paper or on the stone. When you write something, so you have the stone and you have the whatever you wrote. You have the letters. When you engrave, you're engraving it in the etzem thing. So you don't have here two parts. You don't have the letters and the wood or the stone. You have only the wood or the stone, and the letters are part of it. And that represents the inyan of Keser. The inyan of Keser is the inyan of Seiver. And what does that mean? Yesh'lach b'nech tשל Keser, b'dugmas oisias achkika she'einam dovan noisaf al ha'etzem. Hu she'agilu do'ira memale ליוס הגילוי שבבחינס גבול ולא כמו יעצם, כמו דבר נויסוף על העצם. והגילוי דאויר הסויב ליוס בלי גבול כמו יעצם, אין דבר נויסוף על העצם. ועוד עניין בחוקים מלושן חקיקה, שעל ידי החוקים נעשה בעולם עניין החקיקה, כדי שבמדרש על פסוק, אם לא בריסי יוימום ולילה חוק השמיים בארץ, ושמתי חוקים שבהם חוקקתי את השמיים בארץ. So, why is Soivev Keser called Chkika? Because it's not another mahus on the etzem. When you say that there's Ora Memala is another Metzias on the Ha'ara. The Ha'ara itself, the Gilui oil, is one thing, and the Gilui of the Or is another thing. So Soiviv, Keser, is the Indian of Chkika. Why? Because when you're talking about Ora Memala, so Ora Memala is Megala, a lower level of light. It's not Megala the Etzem. It's a Or Bigvul that's Megala something above it. So it's like another thing on the Etzem. It's like Oisius Aksiva. When you write something on a paper, you have the paper and you have the Ksav. But when you're talking about Soivu, you're talking about Keser, so he's Megala, the Beli Gavul that's in the Etzem. So it's like you're being Megala, the same Mahus of the Etzem. So it's not like a dover noise of al Etzem. It's not that you're being Megala, a paper and handwriting on it. You're being Megala, a wood that has engraved in it the letters. And the same thing also, this is another pshat, why it's Soiviv is like Oisiyas Achkike, because it says, Im loy brisi yom v'layla chukas shamayim v'aretz loy samti. Chukim shabayim chakakti es hashamayim v'aretz. What does it mean? The sky, the heaven, and the earth are engraved in the words of the Torah. What does it mean? So the Rebbe explains, Mavar ba'amayim, the inyan chakakti shamayim v'aretz wa bitul shanasa ba'olam al yidei hamshachas hasoivev chakike de lamala. Chakakti shamayim va'aretz, what does mean chakike al shamayim va'aretz? Is the bitul, the soivev that's in the world. Hashem created the heaven and the earth and engraved in them the bitul of soivev. Chakike is soivev. והנה, גם בחקיקה, על ידי חקיקה נעשה שינוי בדבר שחוקקים בו, שאין כמו שהיה בתחילה. כמו בחקיקה סויסיאס באבן, שבתחילה היה אבן פשוט, ועכשיו הוא מצויר באויסיאס. ובפרט כשהחקיקה הוא באבן הבויר ומאבק, שעל ידי החקיקה נעשה שינוי באבירוס והאבקה של האבן, שבמקום החקיקה אין לי מאבק כל כך, ואויד עניין נויסוף בזה, ואויד עניין בזה נויסוף לשינוי, שנעשה באבן על ידי החקיקה, שהחקיקה יקשור באחור שנחסה באבן, so the Rebbe is saying that by chkika we have two little problems. One problem is that when I engrave in a stone, I'm being machzer something from the stone. A part of the stone is going to come out. There's going to be a little yerida, it's going to be lowered the stone, because I'm coming and I'm engraving in the stone. So it's a little bit gonna take out of the mahus of the stone. It's not gonna stay in the same level like it was before. And the Rebbe adds another part to it, that chakika is the opposite of the metzias of the stone also. The stone is whole, and I'm coming and I'm being machzer in something of the stone. So it's also something that's behepach to the stone. Yesh'alech b'nech the shnei inyanim eila, im gam ba'anim shel dor ha'soivev, sha'yerida ba'ol yoy soivev la'almin, k'dugmas ha'shinei va'yerida shenasa ba'evan she'enoi pashut, k'mo sha'ya tchila, v'al yedei ze nasa nesin al smokim ba'oilo, she'mishavim oil ha'soivev, she'metzius ha'oilo, miloshen ha'elem, hu heipach gilu yoy, v'dugmas ha'chakika, shenachsa ba'evan. The same thing, like we say by chakika, is also shayv by oil ha'soivev. That through Or HaSoivev is nishtalshel the world, which is be'etzim the opposite metzias of the Or HaSoivev. But only the Or HaSoivev gives the option of the creation of the world. So it's exactly like chkika, that chkika from one hand lowers the stone. So of course it was in the beginning Or HaSoivev was a lot higher, but the second that it became soivev to the Or HaMamala, so it had a certain yerida, and also that it processed something that by the end came out something that's a little bit the opposite of it, which is the world. Like by the stone. וישאלך בנך שעל דרך זו גם בחוקים דזה שנקראים בשם חוקים, בלושן חקיקה, ומצד שני עניונים הנזכר. The same thing is also chayk. The reason why a chayk is called chayk is also milashon chakika, engraving, va'inyan. The pirush chukah hu, kabay Rabbi Chaim Levy, chukah chukah, wie sie gesagt, wenn noch Rishus lacher acher, shnei inyanim baze. Sharatzen the chukim hu lo kmo shul batzmusay, elo bebchinas yerida kavyochel lishlal l'seichel. En noch Rishus la'arif, bedugmas hashinu va'yerida shenase be'oven al yedei achkika. What is a chayk? Chayk is coming to be shoylel seichel. Be'etzem, it's a lot higher, this mitzvah, this chayk, is a lot higher than being shoylel seichel. It's like our Seivav, that be'etzem it's Ur and Sof. But the second it came down, so it's only something that's shoylel seichel. That's why it's called chayk. Miloshen chkika. Like by chkika of a stone, that it lowers the stone, and it's also a heipach of the stone. Also here, the chayk goes down to be shoylel a seichel diga thing. And it's not as the Ratzon was before that Yerida. And another part why it's called Chayk, Milashon Chika, V'shah Seichel, Sha'Ratzon Shoylel Loisei, U'boifen Sha'avan V'asage Shaloi, Hi Heipech HaRatzon, Shalchein Tzarich Lishlel V'lo Melecha, Ein Lecha Rishus. Which means that the Seichel is in a way that it's already in the Heipech of the Ratzon of the mitzvah, which it wasn't in the first place. The Ratzon of the mitzvah was a lot higher before it came down to the place of the chayk. But the second it became a chayk, so like by chkika we said, of a stone, that by the end it also does the opposite of the mitzvahs of the stone. Also here, it makes it in a way that it's the opposite of the inyan of the Ratzon, which was the essence of the mitzvah to begin with. ועל פי זה, תובן יויסר המיילה דעדוס לגבי חוקים. דעניין החוקים הוא הרצון דמיצוס כמו שבבחינס ירידה לשלול לו עניינים השכל שהם הפכים. בעניין העדוס הוא הרצון דמיצוס כמו שבעצמוס. So what is a chayk? A chayk is coming to be shoylel a certain seichel, a certain understanding. There is a gashmizdiga understanding. And I'm coming and I'm saying that there is a chayk that is above a certain understanding, above a certain concept of the world's seichel. But Eidus is a lot higher than that. Eidus is like the Ratzon of the mitzvah to begin with, before it even came to the dargah that it has to be shoylel a seichel of the world. It has no shaychas with the world, it has no shaychas with seichel, it's a lot higher than that. Vehine. כמו שלמעלה החילוק שבין Eidus לחוקים ומשפטים הוא דחוקים ומשפטים אין באר השייך לעולמס. Just chokim is Hasayviv and Mishpatim is Mamala. The Eidus heim be'atus Ein Sof Shalamala Mishaychas Loyalamas. V'al derech zeh, exactly like we're saying at Eidus chokim and Mishpatim, that Eidus is Atzmus, chokim is Soiviv, and Mishpat is Uramimala, the same thing as Ba'avodas Adam. The Chukim of Mishpatim in Ba'aseichel Shaba Adam. Oyal Kol Ponim B'dagas an Neshama Sheshaychas L'Seichel. Hisboinunus. Ela, Shemishpatim, HaYisboinunus Hi, B'taim HaMitzvos, Kol Gam HaYisboinunus B'zeh Shegam HaMitzvos, T'chukim, the Chukim yesh lem tam, ela sh'hatam the mitzvos elu b'chochmos yizbach, v'lo nimshach b'seichel ha'nivla. V'yisboinunus the Chukim hi seichel ha'mitzvos. Gam ha'mitzvos the mishpatim hem ritzoyin yizbach, otzon sh'lamalu mitam. L'maylu gam ha'tam sh'b'chochmos yizbach. So, like we said, that Chukim or mishpatim is shaykh to the world, and Eidus is not shaykh to the world. B'yislapshus, it's Aramimala and Arasoyev, and Atzmos, so also the same thing as Ba'avodas Adam. When we're saying that there is Chukim and Mishpatim, so they are mitzvahs that are shaykh to the seichel of the person. It's boinanus in the mind of a person. So Mishpatim is shaykh to the part of his boinanus that I could understand the time of the mitzvah and I could understand why I'm doing it. And by Chukim, I could understand that it's the Ratzon of Hashem, but I can't understand the seichel why I'm supposed to do it. But Eidus is different. ועניין עדוס הוא באדם עצמו. כמו שנאמר אתם עדה. בפירוש אתם הוא אתם בעצמכם. דכיוון שכל אחד מישראל נשמוסו חלק על כמה מעל ממש. ושרש הנשומס הוא בעצמוס. ולמעלה יוסם השרש לתרגום מצווס, לכן עצם מציוסם דישראל מעידו על העצמוס. The person himself, the etzem machus of the person, is a witness to the kiyum of atzmus in the world. Exactly like chukim and mishpatim show on seichel in different levels, the same thing edus shows on atzmus of the person. Ba'avodas ha'adam, it means that when a person does a mitzvah that's be'edus, it's representing and it's discovering his darga in the neshama, which is shayach ta'atzvus, which is the highest level. Elo, sha'agili d'sheresh ha'neshama al yidei ha'edus ta'amitzvus. That's the way of being megala. When someone wants to be megala, a sheresh ha'neshama wants to be megala, his essence, that's through edus. It's the person himself. The person himself is the atzmus. Atem edai. You are a witness for the darga of atzmus that's shaykh in the world. With you being here in the world and doing Torah mitzvahs, this is what you're representing. And the Rebbe continues, the Yishloim, the ikar inyonim shel ha-mitzvahs hu she'em edus. המשוך הסעצוס הרנסוף, ועניין החוקים והמשפטים במצווס, המשוך הסעצוס הרנסוף, הוא כי הכוונה במשוך הסעצוס שעל ידי המצווס הוא שהמשוך תהיה בגילוי. וכיוון שהעצמוס היא למעלה מגילוי, לכן הגילוי למשוך הסעצוס עדוס הוא על ידי עיר הסויבה והממלא חוקים ומשפטים, גילוי. וזהו שהסדר דגים לעניונים אלה הוא עדוס חוקים ומשפטים. ובתחילה הוא עניין העדוס, המשוך הסעצוס, ואחר כך בכדי שהמשוך תהיה בגילוי, הוא על ידי הגילוי די רסוי שנמשוך על ידי עניין החוקים שבמצווס. ואחר כך בכדי שהגילוי יהיה בפנימיוס, הוא על ידי הגילוי די רממלדה שנמשוך על ידי עניין המשפטים שבמצווס. Rebbe says over here, interesting thing. The main part of mitzvahs is that there are edus, and like we said before, every mitzvah has an edus. Also, chokim and mishpatim have an edus in them, have a part that represents a part of the edus. But why do we have also chokim and mishpatim? Because the main purpose of a mitzvah is the gili of the mitzvah, the way how it involves itself in our life, and that is something that's shaykh by chokim and mishpatim. And because of that, the Rebbe says, why do we say Eidis Chukim Mishpatim by us, by the Ben HaChacham, the wise? Why is he asking it in that seder? Because it's true that Eidis is the main part of the mitzvahs. That's the purpose of the mitzvahs, to be megala the atzmos. But for to be megala it in the world, which that's the real purpose of the mitzvah, to bring it down here to this world, the gilui, that's through chukim, which is our seiviv, and even lower mishpatim to come down into this world through Ramamal. Val piza yeshloima. זה שמשמע בתחילת המאמר ששאלת בן החכם והעדוס והחוקים והמשפטים היא דקים שכל המצוות הם ציוויה שם. לא מעין החלוקת בעדוס חוקים ומשפטים. The question that we asked before, if the question of the Ben HaChacham is that if everything is Tzivah Hashem, all of the mitzvahs are the same thing that Hashem was mitzvah them, why are we dividing them into sections of Eidos Chokim and Mishpatim? They're all Tzivah Hashem, they're all the same thing. So he, Gam Lebiur, בשאלת הבן החכם היא איך נמשך גילוי אלוקות על ידי המצווה של האחים והתנתדה. שעיקרם היא הסיבה בפועל. That question is also, according to what we said from the Friedrich Rebbe before, that the shaila of the Ben HaChacham is that we're asking, with what are we different than the Avos? The Avos were mamshich beruchnius, we are mamshich begashmius. How are we mamshich begashmius? How do we have that kayach? And that's why he's saying eschem, like we said before. how does it work also with that question? The zeshali they might have mitzvahs nasa amshachas alakus ain't the pella. Ikim sham mitzvahs imrotzen hakadosh baruch. Yeshaelch bnech chacham hi al zeshali they masa mitzvahs nimshach gilui alakus. The inyan hagilui shaykh lechoyr la'avod leruchnis v'lo l'asiyah gashmis. Velochein oimer ma eidos v'achokim v'amishpatim v'lo ma mitzvahs v'kayetze b'zeh. His question is not why are we dividing them into sections. His question is how could, or the question is how are we mamshich elakus and gashmis. His question is how are we megalit? How do we have the kef to be megalit? B'shalayim, the others that we're dealing with avodah ruchnis, and avodah ruchnis is shaykh to be megalit. But in gashmis, in asiyah gashmis, how could you be megalit this geluim of or a mamala, a soiv, atzmos? How could you be megalit these things in through gashmis? And that's why also he's saying, he's not asking why are ma mitzvahs. He's saying ma eidos achokim v'amishpatim. Why are we talking about eidos achokim v'amishpatim v'lo mitzvahs? Ki zeh she'alidei hamitzvahs nasa amshachas alakus u'mitzad hanakoda mashetava shabuchal hamitzvahs b'shavah. That I understand the mitzvahs, how we are mamshech alakus. The only thing I don't understand is שהם ציוו ורוצן הקדוש ברוך הוא. וזה שהמצווס נחלוקות בעסוקים eidos חוקים ומשפטים ובנגיע לגילוי ההמשכה. Like we just said now, that the difference between eidos חוקים and mishpatim is the way how it's nisgal. You have Aramala through mishpatim, Arasoviv through chukim, atzmos. How are you megala these things through asiyah gashmis? The others we understand, but how do we do it today after Matan Torah? And that's his question. Yeshaelch bnech chacham ma eidos v'achokim v'amishpatim asher tziva Havai Elokeinu eschem hi da'mitzvos asher tziva Havai Elokeinu eschem after Matan Torah sheikaromu asiyah b'fayal inyanom hu hamshachas alakus. ואם כן, מה eidos v'achokim v'amishpatim she'achiluk de'eidos chokim v'mishpatim hu b'inyan hagilui. And because of that we are asking, how could we be megala these hamshachas from eidos chokim v'mishpatim memala soiv and atzmos through asiyah gashmis? The hamshacha I understand, but I don't understand the gilui. And that's the question of the wise son, the chacham. And the answer that we are answering him is והתשובה, עבודים היינו לפרעה במצרים, ויוציאנו הוויה ממצרים היא שבמתן תורה שהיו לאחרי הקדומה דגולוס מצרים ויציאת מצרים, ניתן הכוח שעל ידי מצוות מעשיות ימשיכו המשוחס הכי ניילוס. וגם, not only that through that we went out of Mitzrayim, we could be mamshich, the biggest hamshachas through Yitzias Mitzrayim and Matan Torah, we could be mamshich the highest levels of amshachas. Just we should be able to be megala them, like we said, eidos chokim v'mishpatim. We should be able to bring them down here, b'memala, b'soivev, b'atzmos, atem eidai, that you should be walking around and being representing atzmos. You should be walking around and you should be a witness to the highest levels of Elokus that could be nisgala and be discovered here in this world. Sham shachas. So it's not only that there's amshachas, just they should also be begili. And like we say in the answer to the bnech chacham, v'zeu v'yatzaveinu Havai elasos es kol hachukim ha'ola le'ira v'goymer ira oisius re'iyah. Seeing, we should see these hamshachas. Not only they should be here as a fact that we believe, just we should see them. שההמשכה שעל ידי עשייס המצוות יהיו בגילוי על האופן של ראייה. ועיקר גילוי ההמשכה שעל ידי עשייס המצוות יהיה לא עושה לבוי. שאז תהיה ראייה בדרגס הכי נעלס ועד לאירו אס הווי אלוקינו. ראייס מהוס אין סוף ברוך הוא. וזהו ויצווינו הווי לעשות את כל החוקים דייקה. כי כשמקיים המצווס רק מצד הטעם, המשוחס על ידי המצווס הם בהלם. וכדי שהמשוחס המצווס יהיו בגילוי, הוא על ידי שקיום המצווס הוא מפני שהם ציווי השם כמו החוקים. So the Rebbe adds that when is going to be the real gilui of these hamshachas of re'iyah, like we said, v'etzavenu Hashem v'etzavenu lasos es kol hachukim ha'ele le'yira meloshen re'iyah is going to be mainly la'asid lava after Mashiach is going to come. But how do we do it? Through that v'etzavenu havaya lasos es kol hachukim. What's the Indian of chukim dafka? Why don't we say here again, Eidus chukim u'mishpatim? Because the way of being mamshech elokus in this world is through that you don't do the mitzvah only because it has a tam. You do the mitzvah because it's Ratzon Hashem. You disconnect a second from the seichel of the mitzvah and you connect yourself to that I'm doing the Ratzon of Hashem. This is His Ratzon. This is what He wants. And that's how a mamshech, the biggest gilui in the lowest place, bringing the highest hamshachas into this world. Vehinei, v'achi kol anal, tzorich biyu. The kin sheterasem es k'irasayse b'shem ben chacham, we're saying that he's a wise son. Mistaber, שהוא יודע החידוש במתן תורה, שבמתן תורה ניתן הכוח להמשיך על ידי מצוות מעשיות המשוחס הכי נעילוס, ושהמשוחס יהיו בגילוי. ומה ישאלו מה העידוס? Why is he asking what it is, how could we be megala Eidus chukim u'mishpatim in this world? He's a wise son. He knows the chiddush of Matan Torah. This is the chiddush of that we went out of Mitzrayim and got the Torah, so we got this power with it. He should be understanding it if he's a wise son. So the Rebbe answers, "V'yishlavai hazeh, al pi ma shekosav b'mokem achad, zeh shemaisa ovis nema b'Torah, הוא, לפי שגם עכשיו לאחר מתן תורה צריך להיות עבודה שבדוגמת עבודת האבס. ועניינו, זה שנצווינו בכל יום ויום יהיו בעיניך כחדשים. וסייגו מזו חדשים, לא רק בנגיע ליועקה והחבר וזותר ומצוס, אלא גם בנגיע ללימוד התורה לקיום המצוס עצמו, שבכל יום צריכים להיות בדרגה נעלס עוד יוסר, כציווי מעלים בקודש, ועד לעלייה בעין הדרך. ועד שהתורה ומצוס שהיו אצלי קודם, הם כלא יחושב, או לא יחושב לגבי התורה ומצוס דיום זה, שלכן התורה ומצוס דיום זה, Heim Chadoshim. So, the reason why it says in the Torah, the Maisa of us, even L'chaira, we just said that the Avodah after Matan Torah is totally different than the Maisa of us. The Maisa of us was mainly Beruchnias, but we're mainly Begashmias. So, why does it still say in the Torah the Maisa of us? So, the Rebbe explains that, of course, it says "B'chol yom yiyu b'einecha kechadashim," that every day it's like you're getting Matan Torah again. What does it mean? It doesn't mean only lagabe yoiker and chshivas of the Torah, that you love the Torah and you feel like you just got it today and it's beis chachos. It's much more than that. It's that every day the Torah that you were mekayim yesterday is not relevant already for the darga way you're holding today. And today, you're above that already, and you have to be Mekabel the Torah again for it to be able to be Mekayim the Torah, what is expected from you today. And because of that, it says the Maisa of us in the Torah, because we have to learn from them that we are the whole time like we didn't yet get Matan Torah. We're always still before. And because of that, we could also understand the question of the Ben Chacham, the wise son. What is he asking? What's this eschem? Eschem is because he still sees himself before Matan Torah. He still sees himself in the old darga. And because of that, he's asking, how is it relevant to you? But he is still in the old place. And just for it to be Miram is that Indian of and to be reliving Matan Torah and going up from darga to darga, he says the word eschem. And like the Rebbe explains over here, yishאלך בנך תשל, השם אלוקינו eschem, כי התורה ומצוות של הבן החכם הם בכל יום חדשים ממש, ולכן הוא נמצא תמיד בהתחלות בהמצב דקודם מתנתר. ויש לו אמר, זה שאומר שציווה אסכם ולא יסונו בכדי לרמה שאצלו יהיו המצב דקודם מתנתר, like we just said now, ויש לו קש על זה. עם זה שישאלך בנך תשל היא בעיקר בליל הפסח, אפשר שאלה מהו עדוס, כי בנגיע לכלל המצוות, כי בפסח הוא לידת עם ישראל. Why does the Ben HaChacham ask this question only on Pesach? It's a question for the whole year. What's the question Ageya Dafka to Leila Seder on Pesach? Just because Pesach is the Leila of Klal Yisrael, and that's the time when Klal Yisrael started their journey to Matan Torah and to be Makabel the Torah Mitzvos and to be Mamshech to Hamshachas Achinailas Begashmias and then Begilui also. So Dafke then Leila Seder Chag HaMatzos, then he's asking these questions. It's like we just said now, that every day it starts from beginning. Every day it's like a new Leida. Every day is like a new mahus. The person is here from new. And like, and the Rebbe adds, "V'zeu shechag haPesach shaf b'miyuchad le'inyan achinach. Chinuch hayoladim matlu miyad k'shenoilad. V'zeu ha'kesher l'shelas haben hachacham im leil haPesach. Ki zeh sheshel ma'al eilus hu ki mitzad zeh she'ol l'tomid be'ilui acharilu nimtzat b'matzav shelifnei matan Torah she'ein shaykh adayin l'shum inyan katinoi berega shenoilad." He's the whole time like a kid that was just born, and Pesach is the Chag HaChinuch, that we are mechanech the kids. V'yigadet al bincha. Every father has the Mitzvos Esa to teach his kids the inyan of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And this kid is just Katinok Shenoilad, was just born now, Kavyachol, because he's like in the matzav before Matan Torah, like we just said now, that he's learning from the Avos. So he wants to know about the new darga, about the higher darga that he's supposed to learn today. And what is our answer to this question that the Ben HaChacham is asking? We're answering him that we were avodim for Parai and Mitzrayim, and Hashem took us out of there. And even someone that's Ketinok Shenoilad, a little baby that doesn't know anything, not only someone that's going midarga ledarga like the Ben HaChacham, just also someone that's physically bedas in a makom Ketinok Shenoilad. The Esedum Izu, like the Rebbe says, Gam Mishu b'matzav the Eved lepari b'Mitzrayim, and even someone that's like a Eved, he doesn't know anything, he can't understand anything, and he's even before the Leida, he's still in Mitzrayim. Moitzi Havaya Oisvei Mitzrayim B'yod Chazaka. The B'yod Chazaka hu toikef ha'izgalus v'atchenigla alei melech malcha avloch makadosh baruch hu b'chvoidu v'atzma yu golom shehu dilug min ha'kotzer l'kotzer me'amata b'yoyser avodim l'pari Mitzrayim le'amala b'yoyser agilu b'chvoidu v'atzma. Even the person that's in the lowest place and he's an evet for power in Mitzrayim, even him, Hashem comes bedilug from the lowest place to the highest place and takes him out of Mitzrayim. Geen tialanu, asher kimet seis chomet tzayim arenu nifluis geula b'derech dilug min ha'kotzer l'kotzer shemichoshech ha'kafel u'mechopul degalus ובפרט בדור הדקס אדם שחושך גודל ידיוסר בוי מיד להגילוי דבניגל כבוד הווי ורוב כל בוסר ואיסר להווי המלוכה בביאס משיח צדקנו במהר וימינו ממש. So this is the beautiful Maamer that the Rebbe said, Tavshan Lamed Ches, and we'll learn over here what's the question that a Ben HaChacham asks. And like the Rebbe says in the Sikha, that every person has all of these pchinas in him. Ben HaChacham, Ben HaRasha, Tam She'enu Yedei Elisha. Everyone is asking himself this question. And he's asking, how could I be Megala? And Gashmi is the highest Giluim. And we got over here the answer that Avodim Ha'inu L'Pari B'Mitzrayim, and every day we come and we're Megala again and again what we got in Matan Torah. So Be'ezus Hashem should all be Zeicha still this year. V'noich al Sham min Azvachim u'min Apsachim together with Mashiach Tzidkeinu. The Rebbe should be in his Gala already, still this Yud Alef Nisan together with us in Yerushalayim. Be'ezus Hashem. And thank you so much for everyone from the community, from the Shul, and everyone that joined us for this beautiful shir. Everyone that came, listened, Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you Pesach by the Seder. And of course, a very big thank you for my shver, Rebbe David Slavin, which is from Arbe Kitchen, which is who is very busy today, helping the government with the flood and the first correspondence. So sending him from here a very big thank you, and the big Kiddush Hashem that you are making should help all of us together to bring Mashiach very, very quickly. Thank you so much. Afreilach and Pesach, and only simchas and happiness to everyone.